All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another exciting episode. We got Lydia Knoll here today. Thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Happy to be here.
We're going to have you tell your story, obviously, for your love of bodybuilding. Lydia here is a bodybuilder, and she's going to tell us about her cancer story, too.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows.
You got to keep moving. Let's keep moving. Let's go. Don't quit till you got nothing left.
You can either live your dreams or live your fears.
Because you'll have bad times, but that'll always wake you up to the good stuff you weren't paying attention to.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
From the Cancer Sucks Studios, you just tuned in to Life Lessons and Cancer Hope with Coach Steve. Listen, cancer ain't got nothing on me. Introducing an outstanding podcast where we discuss relatable life lessons, ambition, motivation, and perseverance. Welcome back to another episode. Either this channel, what I'm trying to do with this channel is I got another podcast being released on YouTube later today, and it's I'm trying to get more of not just the story, right? Because everybody's got their story, but it's like the same. You know, they got symptoms, they get a scan, they get cancer, whatever, blah blah. But like, what are you doing about it other than sitting in the chair, right? Like physically,
doing a lot,
mentally, positivity, yeah, all this stuff. And when we get into this, I was going to ask you. I got this board behind me, and it's 10 factors. Have you read the book by Radical Remissions by Kelly Turner, PhD, Dr. Kelly Turner?
No.
You got to read it. It is amazing. This is Radical Remissions and Radical Hope. So it's these people that this doctor, Dr. Turner, she tries to find people that's actually not just put in the work for the chemo, but have followed multiple factors. And I think 7 of them are like mental, right? Because they're like spiritual, social support, affirmations, things like that. But then like the other 3 are like diet, supplements, and exercise. So her second book, there was only 9. So her second book, Radical Hope, put in exercise in there. So, which I thought was really cool. And it's just amazing because she talks about in her book how and I talk about this in my other podcast, where I'm just getting a little winded. The docs, they don't report enough. Like the statistics are wrong. Right. So, because they kind of report on the deaths, and then they may go to these seminars, she says, and the latest and greatest, and then clinical trials and things like that, and things to do and how to, fight cancer. And a lot of these doctors, if they're older, they have families or whatever, they don't have time. They don't have time to apply it to their patients. So it's kind of a waste. And then they're not reporting on radical remissions. So then again, it falls back to, the statistics are wrong. And so she's trying to fix that. There's a movie called Heal, which she's kind of like a cameo in there talking a little bit about it. But you got Joe Dispenza. Have you heard of Joe Dispenza?
Mm-hmm.
Supernatural. And then Breaking... I can't even think now of the book. Amazing book, Breaking Yourself of your habit of yourself, breaking the habit of yourself. And then I'm reading right now, David Hawkins, Letting Go. Amazing. I'm still like halfway through it. So you know that one?
Yeah, I love those ones.
Oh, good. Yeah. So yeah. I just think they're so helpful. But so anyway,
I read a lot of books that are like not self-help, but they're like how to develop a strong mindset. One of my favorites is called The 4 Agreements, and it's really short, but it is phenomenal.
Oh, I want to write it down. Yeah, 4 Agreements. I'm always looking for new stuff. I do acupuncture. I do Reiki. I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah. So, and then I don't know if you know Mel Robbins. She just came out with a book, The Habit, High Five Habit. It's supposed to be really good. So probably next month I'll read that. But let's start. What was life like for you around 6 months prior to diagnoses or any kind of symptoms?
It's been so long, so it's kind of hard for me to remember because it's been now 4 years since I was not sick. So, but I was 18 and I was in the middle of going to nursing school. So I was pretty busy. And, all the symptoms started because I was working one day and all of a sudden I just got like excruciating pain in my side and I could barely walk. And I was at work and I'm like, you guys, I have to go to the ER. Something's really wrong. So they took me into the ER and then they took me to another hospital. And what the issue was is my liver enzymes were like through the roof. Like normal number, I think, is like 80 or something for ATL and AST. And mine were about, one was 2,000 and one was 3,000. Wow. Yeah. So they were trying to say, they're like, well, have you been drinking a lot? I'm like, I'm 18 going to school. I don't drink at all. I'm not even across my, and then they're like, do you abuse pain medication? And there was not a single thing that should have caused those numbers. And so they just kept me hospitalized for 2 weeks. My blood work came back normal. Everything came back normal. So they just told me I had some kind of hepatitis. And there was there was no way for figuring out what that was. And to this day, they still don't have the exact cause of why I was hospitalized for 2 weeks. But after that 2 weeks, I was passing out almost every time I stood up.
Wow.
And I was seeing like 4 different doctors. And finally, a cardiologist told me that I had congestive heart failure disease. And another doctor told me I had chronic pneumonia, which I didn't know was a thing at the time. So there was a lot getting thrown at me. And so they just told me that I was going to pass away because I had congestive heart failure disease. Like at 18, they just kept telling me, we can't help you, but this is what we think it is. So I was getting like as many opinions as I possibly could.
Sure.
And it finally came across the desk of my current doctor, and he called me up personally, which is rare. The doctor called me up and said, I want to sit down and have a meeting with you, and let's do this as soon as possible. And so after sitting down talking with this guy for, it was maybe an hour, he's like, you have lung cancer.
Yeah.
He's like, you need to stop seeing these other doctors because they're missing this. And it's very clear to me. So that was a week before my 19th birthday. And he's like, you have lung cancer that has spread to your brain. I'm like, oh, yay. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And who was with you at the time? Like, are you by yourself
no
or you? Oh, you were. Oh, wow. By yourself.
Yeah. See, my parents they were going through a really bad divorce. I'm from a huge family, 7 kids. And it was in the middle of them going through a divorce, and I had moved out. And so it was just like everyone was staying away from everyone. So I was dating my current husband, but he was at work when I went to the appointment because I wasn't really expecting cancer.
Sure. I mean, who does?
Yeah. So within about a week from that, they talked to my boyfriend and I. We came in, who's my husband now. And we sat down and we discussed like, what's the next step here? What do we do? They put a PICC line in, which I will never get a PICC line ever again because my God, it was one of the worst experiences of my life. And then we just started doing chemo, and they were going to do radiation for the first round, but they decided just not to do it. And the chemo did not respond at all. There was nothing was working. And they told me I'd be lucky if I made it to be 20. And at the time I had just turned 19. So I was like, you guys are assholes.
Yeah. Very sinister, right? Ugh. Yeah.
That's what I never get about doctors is instead of doing the best case scenario, they give you the worst case scenario. And they don't even want to possibly think maybe this doesn't go badly. And I never got that. I still don't get that to this day.
Right.
But yeah, so we changed we changed chemo, and I continued to work out through, they told me, with the PICC line, obviously you can't do upper body stuff because you don't want to, God forbid, pull that and cause an issue there. So I just did a lot of lower body stuff just to, keep my sanity. Yeah. And they kind of found that after the days after I worked out, I was doing so much better, and my immune system was just functioning better the weeks that I would continue to work out through it. And so they just decided to tell me as part of my treatment to work out. And they haven't stopped telling me that to this day, that part of it is make sure you work out at least 2 days a week. And I'm just amazed by that part because I love working out.
Yeah.
But we finally did get an experimental drug that we found, and we ran that for a while. And there was a lot of ups and downs. I mean, you know how it is. You think everything's going well and something doesn't work, or for no reason, something grows. And that was basically 2.5 years of that. And then finally in April of 2020, they told me I was cancer free. And I was like, hell yeah, finally.
Yeah.
And then I started having really bad migraines, and I kept forgetting who my husband was. And I kept forgetting where I lived and what my name was. And I'm like, something very bad has happened. And so we went back in, and they're completely unrelated brain tumor. It's glioblastoma multiforme.
Unrelated. Wow.
And, it's kind of funny, not funny. One of my brothers had it when he was 12, but it was right in the back. And so they could just they did a perfect clean surgery and pulled it right out for him. And when they had found his, it was the size of a grapefruit. So it had grown for a while, but he's had it come back a couple times now, but he's like a normal functioning adult now. And it's been 12 years. So I'm like, there's hope if he can get through it, And so I have that, and that was stable. And then about 2 weeks ago, they told me we had an MRI because I started feeling weird. I'm starting to forget stuff again, that it had no longer stable and it's growing a bit. So there's that. And then they found a teeny tiny like a tiny tumor. They said it's like the size of a grain of rice in a different part of my brain. And so I'm really discouraged right now, but we're doing chemo, and we're just going to keep on pushing through it because that's what I've always done. Because they asked me when they found the second tiny tumor if I'd like to stop or if I'd like to keep going. And I said, well, I don't really know how to quit, and I don't really intend on learning. So I've come this far, and you guys have been wrong way too many times.
That's right. To prove them wrong. Yep.
So that's basically everything up to here.
Okay. Up to your current, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Have you guys looked into any, like clinical trials or, cause there's so much out there. It's amazing.
There is. And you know what the biggest reason for these clinical trials turning me down is they think that it's unethical to pursue treatment of someone who has already been told by multiple doctors, I'm going to die. I think it's unethical. And that's what they've told me. And I'm like, but if I'm pursuing it, is it really unethical? Because the patient continues to want it. So we're still looking at it.
Yeah, it's your,
isn't it? It's my body.
Life. Yeah. You want to live, you want to fight. I mean, why not? Why do they? Oh no. Yeah. That's crazy stuff.
But yeah, I'm still looking at, trust me, I've sent out like so many requests for doctors to just look at me still, even though I'm working with a good doctor now, but I'm just like, maybe someone else has a better idea, There's a lot of options, I think.
Yeah, there is a lot of, there's a lot of people that just get comfortable and they, whether they have a good doctor or not, but like, you made a good point, you got a good doctor but still, you still want those other opinions because, maybe another doctor will know something new, something going on or have a different perspective look on it. I'm constantly like going around. I have a few different doctors that look at my stuff every time I get an update on something and try to get different perspectives or opinions on it. So, yeah.
Yeah, me too. I always send my stuff to a couple different people. I'm like, what do you think? You think this guy's wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just trying to, at this point, I'm like, I'll do whatever it takes. So that might sound bad now that I say it out loud.
No, I mean, there's a couple of quotes out there, but it's almost like, we don't have a choice, I mean, I mean, he, we just got to keep fighting. We just don't have that, have that choice. Some people just, give up and, to each its own, and maybe it was just time for them. But, it sounds like you're not giving up. I'm not giving up. I mean, so as long as they're still fighting us, anything's possible. Definitely. I don't know if you know anything about my story, but I've stage 4 colon cancer. About a year and a half I've been fighting. They pretty much told me, like they tell everybody else, no, you're done for, chemo for life, you got 2 years, inoperable. My liver was completely covered in tumors. Couldn't even see fresh liver, but, no, multiple consults. I live in upstate New York. I think you're in Wisconsin, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm like, upstate New York and Rochester. So I got to go to Sloan once in a while, MSK in New York City, Manhattan. And they did radioembolization, they did all kinds of stuff, and then finally had surgery, and the liver tumors were good, a little inconclusive. The last couple scans, we did MRI, and they think, okay, because the colon cancer was taken out, I had 2 surgeons, big surgery. And I'm like, okay, just no evidence of disease, no evidence of disease. We got this. We're so close, right? Like I'm out of deep water and I'm ready to climb over the dock, right? And then they tell me, bam, I got Mets to the lung. After I'm finally like saying, all right, the colon and the liver finally like dead. And I just want to hear the doctor say no evidence of disease. And she's like, nope, psych. And
wow,
just kidding, you still have cancer, so it's messed in the lung. So then they did ablation, right? So the chief radiologist said, all right, there's 2 spots. They found a third when they went in, and they're like, we're going to be aggressive, we're going to go in there, we're going to zap it. And my lung deflated. This was like 4 weeks ago. That's why I've been walking and haven't been able to lift yet, because I'm still trying to get my lung capacity back up. But yeah, and then she's like hopeful. They're like, okay, we got it all. The radiologist said they got it all on the ablation. So I just went like 3 days. I don't even know what day it is today, but Monday went for scans in New York City, and I'm like, okay, all right. I'm waiting. I'm sitting there. I'm waiting to hear the word say NED from the doctor. Nope, psych, punching the nuts. I got 4 more lung tumors. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm just trying to stay, positive. You're it sounds like you're going through, listening to your story, something similar, where you thought, everything was good. Now you got Mets, but it's like, well, whatever. So just going to deal with that. I'm going to sit back in the chair and do chemo again, and then maybe ablation again in 6 months. I don't know. We'll see. So I'm just waiting to hear when my appointment is for next week, because obviously the longer we wait, the more it's just actively growing. So now I'm like really anxious. I'm like, come on, I just want to get back in the chair so it doesn't have to keep growing. So at least halt it. But anyway, so that's
awful. I'm so sorry, man.
I just whatever.
Oh, you got to have the humor too.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a dark humor. I put a lot of funny memes on my page and things like that. I try to do nice,
I think
ones too, but
people who've never dealt with this, they think that people like us who have the dark humor, we're really morbid. And I'm like, no, we're just trying to not go crazy.
Yeah, I know, right?
By being really humorous about the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even drink because of the not that I was drinking a lot before, but I mean a beer or whatever, or some whiskey.
Nothing to relax.
No, yeah, I know, right? So I gotta I don't know, pretend that I've been drinking and come up with some funny shit. So,
well, I'm really sorry to hear that, man. I mean, I know how it is. You're like, I'm gonna be better. It's gonna be better because you do the positive thinking, and then they're like, no, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah, you're awful. Like so close, so close and getting out of this cancer, pit, and and it's like get dragged back down again. It's not funny, but I don't know, whatever. It's just I've gone through it so many times, up and down. It's like, my wife is better prepared. She kind of had an intuition, that that this was happening. So I think mentally she was better prepared. Where me, I'm like, no, it's gone.
Yeah, I think that's when you're married, like your spouse, like always is trying to be realistic. And we're over here living in this land of everything's fine. We're fine. Everything's good. But they're like, no, this is bad.
But yeah, so let's the exercise, right? It's so important, and it just going through anything, right? And not just cancer, but any kind of illness, or even heart related, anything. You always hear doctors that say, it's a good thing you were, working out, physically fit, not sedentary lifestyle, because like you or me, if cancer, who knows where we'd be right now if if we didn't have that lifestyle of working out before. So, yeah, tell us about, not just the physicalness of it, but man, that mental, that, and the endorphins that go, that you get with it, that helps you keep going. Talk a little bit about that.
Okay. So, yeah, like I said, I've been working out with everything. I started working out about 5 days a week, starting about 8 months ago. Before that, I was only working out 2 or 3 days a week. You know how it is. It's just hard to, it's hard to get your head there. And so what I do to get my head when I'm in the gym is I walk in and I just focus on each set and each rep. And even though you may feel like throwing up, and do throw up, like last workout, I threw up 4 times in an hour. And I was like, everyone here thinks I'm nuts because I'm like running to the bathroom every few. But it's just, I go in there and I'm like, this is the one thing I can do that I have a say in and that I get to control. So I'm not going to let anything get in my way of doing this. And so I just go in there and I either blast music or listen to whatever the gym's playing. And I just focus on making sure that I'm giving my best in each set, because I know as soon as I'm done with that set, I'm going to feel like hot trash, but it's worth it to me because I feel strong and it's the one thing I can do right now. So I just keep going back and doing it. And the gym, I don't know what I'd do without the gym, as weird as that sounds. It's just like, it's my saving grace at this point, because when you're home, everything is kind of cancer, because everything has to be made a certain way and done a certain way. So you live in your house, but everything in there is just like reminding you how sick you are. But when you go to the gym, some people treat you weird, but most people you're just another gym goer. So it's like, this is where I get to be, where I can breathe and where I can just let everything disappear out of my head and just focus on what I'm doing right now. And that's just the way I've looked at it. And I have no intentions of slowing down with the gym. And with the mental health aspect, I kind of created this mental health mantra for myself, and it's something amazing could happen tomorrow. But if I quit today, then I won't be here tomorrow to experience or enjoy it.
Oh, I love that.
Originally, I started that with myself just because I was dealing with such bad depression, but it turned into just being so much more when I really look into something amazing. What could be the something amazing is they look at a scan and something's just gotten all better or disappeared all. Because I've heard of stuff like that. When you're hoping, you start reading those articles about people are like, everything cleared up. And I'm like, I could be that person.
Yes.
So that could be the something amazing for you and I is magic happens.
Yes. Yeah. I've talked about this before in other podcasts about how, and this goes with anything that you try to manifest in life in the universe. And I believe in the universe, and anything you put out in the universe, it comes back to you. And sometimes you have your own timeline of stuff. Maybe somebody else's timeline is, they want to be an entrepreneur. They want to be successful. They want that promotion in their job. Well, for us, we want to get rid of this cancer, and we have that timeline in our head. And we talked about this before, where it's like, we were so close, but then you got another, you're dragged down to the pit again. But you have to almost trust in the universe's timeline and detach yourself from your own timeline, because it'll happen. It'll happen. It's just maybe not on our timeline, but one day the universe will be like, okay, okay, it's set. You've gone through enough.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping, because all four of my grandparents died of cancer, and it was, and I've had friends close to me. When you're going through chemo, you kind of make friends with people, and I've had a few of my friends die during the process, and it's like a lot of them think this is going to take 5 years, it's going to take 6 years, and a lot of them are like 6 months, that's it. And I'm like, do we really know though? Like, I thought I'd be done with this by the time I was maybe 21, and I'm turning 24 next month. So it's like, this is all just, we don't have any power over it. So the power that we do have is controlling our thoughts. And that's just all that I'm trying to do. And I'm sure that some days you feel like you don't have control of your thoughts, and you just feel like you're drowning in a pit of, darkness.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They talk about the dark night, the dark night of the soul, and it's just, there's just, but you almost gotta we talked about this. I'm reading this Letting Go by David Hawkins, but it's almost like you have to immerse yourself into the feeling instead of the thoughts, and that's how you let go of the thoughts and not resist of the actual feeling. So because it's as soon as it's not just the emotion, it's the thoughts that make me spiral, because I have a lot of anxiety, right?
Me too.
As soon as you start getting, I'm sure, right? So as soon as you start getting a thought in your head or two, and then
it just keeps going.
Yeah, and even if you're in a quiet place, you hear all these screams, your own screams in your head and things like that, and it's like you start spiraling more and more and more. But if I kind of get rid of those thoughts and just immerse myself in the emotion and just let it happen. I've been trying to practice that. It's been helping a little, but
it's hard to do, but it's worth a shot.
Yeah. It's not.
Yeah. Like I see a exactly. Like I see a psychologist, and she's like, what you do is when you have those negative thoughts, you just remind yourself it's not logical. And I'm like, you must not have anxiety. Like, how hard it is to get yourself from not spiraling.
Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh, I know. Anything will trigger it, and then once you start, it's like, it's hard to stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of the gym and all those the good hormones, the dopamine,
and serotonin,
it's so good. It's because cortisol is so bad because it causes inflammation, and it makes the cancer grow. And I've actually stopped watching action flicks. I love action flicks, and there's a couple of new movies out that I really want to see. And I'm like, so anyway, I'm a Marvel fan, and I started watching Black Widow. And I only got through like a little less than half of it. It's so good. I don't know. I enjoyed it, but I had to stop. I had to stop watching it because I could feel my body.
You start to get all worked up.
Yeah. And I'm like, I want to finish it, but I shouldn't. So, they say, watch comedies and feel good movies, little Hallmark feel good movies, and
those aren't really fun to watch after a while.
Yeah.
And it works for a little bit, but then you're like, I need some action. I need something.
Yeah, I know. Well, so I don't know, but so Kelly Turner's Radical Remission book, we talked about that. There was a story about this boy who ended up with osteocarcinoma, and that was his joy, was to be with nature and bird watching. And it's, sort of like, he played baseball too, but, then he couldn't, because he ended up losing a lot of his shoulder muscles and stuff because of the cancer, but he ended up fighting it, and he was, ended up being a radical remission. But, my point was, the bird watching, again, he's with nature, he's doing something he loves, and it's getting those good hormones in him. And it's like us going to the gym, we're in that environment, and we're getting those good hormones, and it does a lot of healing.
Yeah, it really does. I've seen some of my friends who went through chemo, and the whole time they continued to work out. And then like you compare them to the people who don't even attempt to, and it's just, not only do they physically look worse, it's the mental, it's like a totally different thing because they just don't think anything's possible. And the ones who work out still have the hope because they're just, you continue to work out because you're expecting to be there tomorrow, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to talk down on anyone who doesn't work out because that's your own choice. Do whatever makes you happy. Yeah. It's just, you got to find something that gives you a purpose for being alive and continuing to fight.
Yep. Oh yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. You know, and what's your advice for, cause I talk about this, and there's, cancer fighters out there that never really worked out before diagnoses. And they're like, shoot, maybe I should start now. And they're like, I can't even get off the couch. Or, they'll say, or, there's been plenty of times where I go through chemo and I get out of the shower and I can't even finish drying off. And I gotta lay down for like 2 hours later. And they're like, geez, how am I going to get to the gym? And they think they have to do like all this stuff. And I'm like, just start off with walking a little bit farther.
Exactly.
Every day, bands, but what's your, you have any advice for those that want to get into some kind of workout routine that maybe not, that weren't used to it before?
Do it before you go to your chemo appointments. And if you have to take like an oral chemo, like try to do that, try to work out. Or when I say workout, just do something 5 or 6 hours after you take the oral, because I'm taking an oral chemotherapy as well as doing intravenous. But just like you said, just start doing something. And bands, that was when COVID happened and they shut everything down. You couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like bands and just going for walks around the neighborhood, as exhausting as it is, you'll feel better because of it. And your immune system will definitely feel better from it. So it's just, you're going to feel like shit no matter what. So you kind of got to choose, how do you want to feel like shit? Do you want to feel like shit laying on the couch, or do you want to feel that way doing something where you can go outside and enjoy it, or you can go to the gym and see people, So it's just trying to decide how you want to, where you want to feel the worst. You can feel bad at home, or you can feel bad outside. And that's not like a whole bunch of great advice, because in all honesty, there's not a whole lot of advice when it comes to that, besides just try to do something in those moments that you feel good. So yeah, I mean, I had a friend, and every time that she wasn't like throwing up, she would do 5 push-ups, or she would do 5 squats. So just in between in those moments where she didn't feel like she was going to die, she would do 5 reps of something. And she told me that helped her a lot, because it made her feel like she was doing, no, it was barely anything. It was still something. And she said that helped just in general. So,
wow. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah. I'm lucky enough to have a home gym. I've had one for, gosh, I don't know, almost 15 years. But what did you do during, you and your husband during COVID for working out? Do you have
a lot of body weight stuff?
Body weight? Okay. Yeah.
We have up to 60-pound dumbbells. So it was just a lot of going really, really slow to try to create more tension, and just doing the best we could with the dumbbells, because we couldn't obviously go anywhere. There was nowhere to go. But it was just a lot of body weight and figuring out how to get the most out of the minimal equipment we had. But,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad, things are back open now. And the equipment is just, of course, skyrocketed. I remember I bought my dumbbells years ago. It's like 49 cents a pound. That was the cost.
Now they're like
$3.
Oh,
yeah, I know. It's crazy. Yeah. So other than
I don't get that.
I know. Other than working out, what do you do for, any changes in your diet, supplements,
Yeah, I mean, I'm a sports nutritionist, so I'm very on top of the nutrition and supplements and stuff like that. But my diet is 100% whole food based. Whenever I eat anything processed, I always feel like shit the next day. So I always just stick to like, but it needs to have like 3 or less ingredients on it for me to eat it, because I know otherwise I'll feel really gross. So I just stick to whole food. My go-tos are sweet potatoes and chicken, just because they both digest pretty easily, and canned green beans. If you've never had canned green beans while going through chemo, you should, because number one, they taste good and they don't make you throw up.
Oh, I'll have to try that. Wow.
But that, like, honestly, that's like my main food is just like sweet potatoes, eggs, chicken, and greens. It's really, really boring, but it's what's worked best for me. So I don't mess with that at all. And that's just basically
working. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then when it comes to supplements, I stick to the bare minimum, mostly just immune ones to help obviously keep my immune system so a lot of like zinc, vitamin C, a ton of glutamine. And then I have these supplements that I just got. They're called Helios. And it's for chemotherapy patients where it's like a powder. You mix it with some water and then you slosh it in your mouth and swallow it. And it helps prevent the ulcers. And I must say, I've noticed a tremendous difference from using it. So that's something for anyone to look into. It's called Helios. But then like other supplements, I just stick with the bare minimum. I do some bodybuilding supplements like creatine. I use a little bit of, and my doctors approve every single thing. I don't take anything unless they're like, this won't kill you. Like, great. So I stick to the bare minimum, but just mostly immune system ones and ones to help my gut, because you probably know that your gut gets destroyed when you're going through chemo.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's already destroyed with all the antibiotics we've been taking over the years. And that's why I take a probiotic, So.
Yeah, me too. I do take one of those.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, no, that's great. What about, do you do any kind of holistic, therapies?
I tried CBD for a while and I did not notice a damn thing.
Oh.
So I stopped that because just personally, it didn't work for me. There is a variant called...
Is it just CBD? Without? Oh, I just got my, probably a couple months ago, medical marijuana card, because
it's not legal here yet.
I tried these, even for medical marijuana, it's not legal. Oh, that stinks, because it definitely been helping my anxiety and sleep and stomach and issues, because I take all these. I've been trying to wean off these prescription drugs because it's like, it's not good for my liver, and I'd just rather take something natural. And then the neuropathy, I don't know if you got any neuropathy, but in my feet, so I take a balm, THC CBD balm for my feet, and so. But
they haven't legalized it yet, but they do have a loophole. Technically, it's called Delta 8, and it's like such a low dose of THC that it is legal in Wisconsin. So I use that, and it helps with because regular THC is called Delta 9, and I use Delta 8, so it's like the baby. But that does help with the anxiety, so I use that. But otherwise, I don't really do many holistic practices. I did for a while when it first all started, but most of them cause more issues than good, so I just stopped.
Oh yeah, no, that's the case, right? Yeah, you don't want to do that again. Yeah, I guess they say that the cancer patients need more of a THC ratio to CBD, like a 20 to 1 or a 12 to 1.
Oh, wow.
Versus somebody else that's taking medical marijuana for something else other than cancer, and because the CBD kind of it's always mixed. I guess the medical stuff that I take a tincture and then a sublingual, but it counteracts like that euphoria stuff, so I don't get high. But it definitely it definitely helps. So it's supposed to be legal.
I'm glad you found a mix.
Yeah. Yeah. It's supposed to be legal in New York State, kind of. Technically it's still they can't get all the open dispensaries open because it's federally illegal, even though they're working on passing more bills here, I guess, in New York State. I don't know, but we can at least go through palliative care, and get the card.
Yeah. I mean, I think honestly, it should be medically legal across the whole country because I think it'd be beneficial, but that's a whole different argument.
Yeah. Yeah. If we can go to a drive-through and get some really bad junk food in you, right? Then we should be able to get some cannabis. Come on.
Right? Balance out the evils.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Any practices that you do mentally or anything that you're passionate about that's kind of helping you get through day by day?
I'm an online coach, so I help people with their nutrition and fitness. And I honestly don't know what I'd do without that because I need to you need to have a purpose, and my purpose is helping other people. Like I said, I went to school for nursing, but then when cancer hit, I didn't actually I couldn't go and take everything to get the final, become a nurse. So I help people in the ways that I am passionate about, and that's through nutrition and training. So that is something that I'm always eager to learn more about. I mean, I'm constantly studying and constantly learning because I want to help anyone I possibly can. And I work with a few cancer patients with nutrition, and awesome. It's really nice to help other people who are going through something similar because then I can kind of understand what they're feeling, because when you're working with just like a registered dietitian, which is good and all, it's hard for them to understand how you feel about something because they've never experienced the feeling. Right. So even though I'm not a registered dietitian, I'm just a nutritionist, I can really empathize with the clients who have gone through and are going through chemotherapy. So it's nice to work with that, but I just work with the general population and I absolutely love it. And that's what I do.
That goes a long way, versus just, not to downplay anybody going to school and getting their, degree in it and studying it and all that. But, when you're talking, like you said, with cancer and, related to nutrition and stuff, no book's going to tell you as good as, the experience that, you've personally gone through.
Yeah, that's what I still read a bunch, but like you said, the experience it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if I told you, but I'm a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for 24 years.
Yeah, you did. That's
I'm not
awesome.
working right now though, but it's all right.
That makes sense.
It's crazy out there. So right now, maybe it's good that I just kind of focus on myself because I think the stress level would not be so good if I went back to work right now, but
yeah, I can't imagine. Oh. Do you miss it?
Yeah, I miss patients, taking care of them. Maybe not the conditions, but I've always been a good listener and just being there for the patients and just you got a lot of new nurses out there that are task oriented. That don't really try to connect with the patients. They kind of go in and out of the room as fast as they can. They just try to get their tasks done for the day. And then punch out, for the day, their time punch. And it's like, oh, geez, why'd you go into nursing then? So anyway, but, I've always been, I've done geriatrics, I've done ER, I've done med surg, I've done, critical care, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I enjoyed it. So
maybe you'll get back to that sooner than later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotta be optimistic about all this shit, even if it keeps getting bad.
Yeah, no, that's right. So, anything else you want to, you're passionate about that you want to talk about, or?
I think we covered it all. Yeah. I mean, I'm in the middle of chemo, so chemo brain is real foggy. And like I said, I'm having some memory issues, but I think we covered it.
I haven't had chemo in a few months, and I tell you that sticks with you. That does not go away. And of course, like I said, I got to restart. But yeah, that chemo fog stays with you. So yeah,
yeah, that's kind of funny thing. People always think that like, as soon as you're done with chemo, you're like back to normal.
No.
And I'm like, oh God, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No.
I mean, I've heard so many other cancer fighters where they're survivors now and they've beat cancer, and life's never the same even after. It's like a new normal. But I preached this before too. It's almost like you have to change your life though. Not just fight the cancer with chemo, but mentally, physically, nutrition wise, everything. Because if you continue your life after you fight cancer, the same conditions that your body was in mentally and physically before you got cancer, the cancer is going to come back and grow. There's a reason why. It's not like a virus, right? It's your own cells. So, you got to change. It's almost like you need a 2.0 version of you to keep that, to get rid of the cancer and then keep it gone, So, but
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. That's the hard part, is trying to figure that out, the combination of things,
Yeah, it's kind of intimidating when you think about what life's going to be like once you're better. You're like, how do I live again?
Yeah.
Just figure it out. We figured this out this far. So,
well, like you said, keep helping others, and it's a full circle. I always talk about that full circle. You inspire me, and I try to inspire you, and
you definitely do.
We do the connections. I feel like we're here on Earth to connect to people, not just the people that we know, but people we don't know, and get to know them, and make everybody's life a little easier, and have them shine a little bit more brighter light inside them. So
yeah, the world's full of so much hate. All we can do is try to bring some love.
Yep, absolutely. So, all right, I just want to say, thank you so much for your time. Being on the show. Probably have you on again, later on. See, I'm going to keep an eye on your journey. We'll put your Instagram handler on. This is going to be on YouTube and Google, Apple, Spotify, Anchor podcasts also. So, yeah. All right.
Great chatting with you.
Yeah, you too. Yeah. So, all right, guys, we'll see you on the next episode. From the Cancer Suck Studios, that is a wrap. Check us out in future episodes of our podcast and be sure to subscribe. But before we go, just want to give a shout out to all the admirable and devoted caregivers out there. Until next time, stay strong. We got this.
Because every once in a while, the lion has to show the jackals who he is.